cost disruptive product. We market sunMAX as $1.50 per watt compared to what Big Solar. And most of you guys have noticed in your communities that Big Solar is making a huge push today. You can see lawn signs, they're on rooftops, it's really spreading everywhere. And this kind of describes the future of the renewable energy market. It's called grid parity. And grid parity occurs when the cost of a renewable technology, such as solar or wind, is at the same cost as what you would pay the utility. So if you're paying your utility $100 a month, and the cost of solar then transforms your bill so that you would pay less with solar, the technology has reached what's called grid parity. And what we were seeing with sunMAX is kind of something incredible. In some of the naysayer markets that are not traditionally solar, sunMAX is in fact not only viable, but hugely profitable for WISPs. And you can see kind of here in the bottom right corner of my screen, you can see this state outlook report. We've prepared a number of resources like this just to show you as installers what your profit margins are, as well as the savings to the customers. So you really play around with your cost per watt. That's the way that you market solar. And our customer proposal application that I'll discuss a little bit later gives you insight into how you can kind of adjust these costs and play around with your profit margins while also adjusting the customer savings. But you can see in certain states, like, I mean, anywhere from Hawaii, $65,000 savings over 25 years with, you know, $6,000 of WISP profit margins. You could really play around with how much you sell that to the end customer, and they're still saving, you know, tens of thousands of dollars, and you're bringing up your profit margins. So there are opportunities for recurring revenue. A few people have expressed interest. As an internet service provider, that's what you're used to, is collecting your monthly profits, and you can certainly do that with solar in a lot of ways. Okay, the next section I'm going to get into now is all of the materials and resources that Ubiquiti has made available to WISPs, not only to kind of remove barriers for solar, but also just to accelerate your entry and help you get started and just start dominating the market, because it can look a little bit daunting, but we've really broken everything down, made every step easy, and we have experts along the way to help you. The first thing to get started and do today is our Ubiquiti training program. We've done something a little bit different compared to our traditional AirMax and Unify and EdgeMax training courses, where you would, instead of going and sitting in on a classroom course, today, right now, you can go on to training.ubnt.com, sign up for our free online training course, and really just get started, introduced to solar, you know, learn things about grid parity, the basics of electricity, and then really get hands-on looking at how sunMAX connects to the customer premise, what you need to do to market and sell. It covers pretty much everything in here in this webinar that we'll be discussing today, just in much greater detail. So that's available now, training.ubnt.com. All you need to do is log in with your Ubiquiti account. Pretty soon we'll have a live training course available with some of our distributors that are offering sunMAX. So I'm really glad, Steve, to see that you guys have the panels already in stock. Pretty soon we'll start getting a live training course set up so that people can come into your training site and, you know, learn hands-on, do some install locally. So that should be coming up in the next few weeks. But again, sunMAX is already shipping, so this is something you guys should take advantage of right now today. Training.ubnt.com. The next area that I want to focus on for getting started and to accelerate your entry is our knowledge base. This is at help.ubnt.com. The knowledge base just has tons of documentation and examples, and everything's really broken down into section chronologically, you know, starting out with the end-to-end solar process, getting started from A to Z, and then taking you through from start to finish how to market sunMAX, pre-sale, post-sale, then getting into pre-install, post-install. So it's a very useful website. We'll fill in some of the cracks too with the training materials. So I recommend picking up training.ubnt.com and help.ubnt.com to get yourself acquainted. Another thing that we also recommend here that I'm going to hop on is finding a licensed electrician and contractor. What we recommend is that at least starting out with sunMAX, if you don't carry one of these licenses, in some states like California, you have to have a particular license in order to sell and install solar. So what you can do is you can just team up with somebody. The margins and the profit margins for WISPs are thousands of dollars per install. So if you're just chucking out a couple $100 to an electrician just to make sure that your job is legit and safe, and then going forward with experience in hand, if you decide that you want to get your own contractor's license, or you might just decide it's easier to handle the sales and kind of install side and let the electrician take care of the end runs and whatnot. So this is something we recommend on our forum, I should mention. So community.ubnt.com, the sunMAX section. You'll also notice that there is an area where qualified electricians and contractors can send in their information. We're building a database, so you can reach out and we'll review that these electricians are available, and you can get in touch with them. The next section, and now what we're really going to do is just kind of go through chronologically the tools that are available, and perhaps you're interested in solar, perhaps you're on this call today just to learn about it, but my goal is that you guys already start learning right now what you need to do in order to begin marketing and sell to your customers, because you don't necessarily have to buy the product and wait for it to ship. Unlike our internet access technology, you can really just start marketing this today. So the first thing to do as an installer and as a solar salesperson is get an idea of the cost per kilowatt hour of your residential customers. Again, like I said, solar really makes sense for the internet service providers because you have this existing customer base of all of your customers. Once you figure out with one or two or three customers in a particular neighborhood or region what their cost per kilowatt hour is by looking at their energy bills, then you know whether or not really how to pitch sunMAX to your customers. So what we recommend doing is, to get started, get a copy of your customer's electricity bills, send those over to sunMAXconsult@ubnt.com. And what we'll do is we'll take all those energy bills that you send us, and we'll prepare a sample design. You can see a simulated sunMAX array on top of the customer premise. We'll also show you the customer's savings, the cost savings as they're called, over 25 years with sunMAX and without, to show you kind of the savings. The next thing we'll prepare is return on investment. Really prime you guys to already take these and pitch these to your customers. So take advantage of this free service that we're doing currently. It's called Customer Savings Outlook, sunMAXconsult@ubnt.com. So I made reference to the simulated arrays that we prepared in the customer proposal, and there's nothing actually stopping you from doing that first step, and analyzing customer energy bills on your own. And ultimately, we hope that's what you do, because this is something that you, as you become an expert in this field and start marketing, you really should be aware of the products that you're selling. So sunlink.ubnt.com. And what's great about Sunlink, it's a free online software suite. The first part, there's three parts to the software suite. The first part is the site design tool. Right here you can see we're building a couple of different arrays on top of a customer rooftop. So really the first step is look at those customers' electricity bills. Once you figure out what their annual consumption is, then you can build arrays to offset their annual consumption. So ideally, you want to offset their consumption by 100% so that you bring down their energy bills as much as possible and have a higher return on investment for sunMAX. So the Sunlink site design tool, it's very intuitive, very easy to use. In the Northern Hemisphere, you just want to look at it, choose south-facing rooftops. I mentioned before that you're building these arrays to offset annual consumption. The average U.S. customer consumes approximately 11 megawatt hours per year. And if you can read the font here on the screenshot I took, it's 9,634 kilowatt hours. So about 80%, 90% production offset, consumption. So this is a good investment, and you take this this data that you create here on the Sunlink site design section and generate a bill of materials. And this bill of materials will become relevant, when you order from someone like ISP Supplies, but also as we carry through the software suite. All the data is building on top of each other. So the next part of the Sunlink software is the customer sales proposal. I should mention first off that this is still under development, but I actually tested it last night. It's looking beautiful, and ultimately this will make it very, very easy for you as installers and as sales reps to quickly customize a system so that it's profitable to you, thousands of dollars of profit, but also thousands of dollars of savings for the customer. So I mentioned in the previous slide cost savings. Cost savings refer to the offset kilowatt hours that the customer is no longer drawing from the grid because sunMAX is now producing over top. The next thing to consider are actual savings and incentives that will accelerate and boost the return on investment. So right now in the United States, there is a particular incentive called the ITC, and this is why one of the many reasons why sunMAX is so important to sell right now and get involved with and not wait any longer, because right now the United States government is offering 30% tax credit to customers off of the cost of the install. So not only the equipment itself, but what you're marketing. So if you sell a system tomorrow with install and all the additional costs for, let's say, $10,000, then the customer is effectively paying $7,000 once they recuperate that tax credit. And so a lot of the financing that's available is flexible and easy and built, these solar loans, so that customers don't have to pay upfront any money. So I'll talk about that in a little bit as well. But the customer sales proposal will allow you to customize things like the effective loan, the loan term, etc. So once you finish that sales portfolio, you're going to export it to PDF, take it to the customer, send it via email. But these tools, they effectively reduce the time that you need to invest in preparing things on your end. And these are really, by and large, the same tools that the big solar players are using. So you can go ahead and compete head-to-head. You have a superior product that's lower cost, and you give them kind of the Midas touch of the local installer. So again, WISPs, you guys are really well set up to push this marketable product. Now, the final section of Sunlink is called the permit design application. And you might find, after you do a little bit of research, that you don't necessarily need a permit, but in most places, most jurisdictions, I should say, in the United States, you're required to have a building permit in order to begin construction on the customer rooftop. This is a several $100 service that we're offering for free. We have expert design engineers that are preparing these line diagrams and building site diagrams. And really all you have to do is, once you've created that 5-minute simulation on your rooftop, it's a matter of compiling a few more bits of information for us, taking pictures of the electrical panel, taking pictures of the customer rooftop, just so we can get a better feel for what the project looks like. And then we'll put it down on paper in a very professional template, and then you can submit that to the authority having jurisdiction, or the AHJ. That's really just the local permitting office that will issue the permit needed to install your system. So definitely Sunlink software is a place that you guys want to go to right now, sunlink.ubnt.com. And like I said, there's experts over there that will help you through each step of the way. So that pretty much wraps up the getting started section. I feel like I threw a lot of things at you guys who maybe have not already started the training course. For you guys who haven't started using the Sunlink simulator at all, there's tons of stuff. Go over to the knowledge base today, kind of chronologically go through it, and yeah, get started. So the next section I'm going to talk about is sales and marketing. And I touched on it a little bit in the previous section when we started getting into the customer proposal tool, but the ideal solar customer is really who you should be looking for immediately. And there's a couple of criteria that will make or break a sale, I guess you could say, or rather make a sale easy. First off, is the person that you're pitching the sale to, are they the homeowner? You have to work with the homeowner in most cases. I have seen cases of people that are kind of circumventing this, and they're working with building managers, also new residential construction areas. So as new homes are going up, we're seeing people who are pitching sunMAX to these housing developments and saying, hey, like when somebody moves into their house, just this is another way to kind of sell the product. I should mention too, solar in independent research groups have shown solar increases the home value by at least 1-to-1. So if you spend $10,000 on a solar system, that will increase the price of your house when you go to sell it by 1-to-1. So just these are different things we mentioned throughout the training course, throughout our knowledge base materials. So kind of having this ammunition as you pitch the sale is useful in your repertoire. The property address, you need that to check out on sunlink.ubnt.com, and also knowing what their average monthly bill is. I'm not going to give you guys a particular number just because each market is really unique. I will say that on the knowledge base, we have several templates created. So if you're in the state of Arkansas or the state of Texas, we have a recommended cost per watt that you would need to sell sunMAX at in order to make a couple $1,000s profit off your job, but also make the sale profitable and have long-term savings for the customer. So look that up on help.ubnt.com, our knowledge base. And then the last two are pretty self-explanatory. Is the roof okay? In a lot of cases, some of the homes that you're going to approach, maybe the homeowner is looking to reduce their energy bill, but they've got a 20-year-old roof. And this is not a showstopper. In fact, what you can do, similar to how you team up with like contractors in your area or licensed electrician, you can really work with roofing companies to kind of do both simultaneously. And with the types of loans that are available for solar projects, home improvement projects, the FHA loans, for example, are very, very flexible and offer thousands of dollars of reduced savings, increased savings and reduced interest over time. So definitely check those out. Those are also mentioned on our knowledge base. And also, you want to make sure that the customer roof is shade-free in the sections that you're building on. So if you're building on a south-facing rooftop, but the east side of the south-facing rooftop had some shade on it, you'll probably either want to avoid that or just get an idea of what the shading window is. It might be negligible. It might be that only like an hour per day you have shading, but also things to be taken into consideration. The final one is the credit. Credit's very important for the sole reason that 85% of customers today are purchasing their solar system via loan or lease, but not cash up front. So while cash up front payments are going to result in the highest amount of savings, you know, the majority of your customers, I would expect, would want to take advantage of loans where they don't have to put any money down. It's a very safe investment, and with the cost savings, so the savings they're recuperating off of energy bills that they're not having to pay any longer, they're able to pay back their financing partner for the solar system. And if it's a 5-year loan or a 10 or 20, at the end of the loan, they ultimately are the owner of that system. So a couple of things to check out to look for the ideal solar customer. But really, what I should say is, if you are a WISP of 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 subscribers, all of those customers are great, fantastic leads. You already have an existing business relationship with them. So whether you just want to kind of go in their home and, you know, hey, we're doing a free radio upgrade today, you know, take advantage, get your foot in the door. You have 2 steps rungs ahead of any other solar competitor with your existing customer base. So take advantage of those, and if you don't sell it to them, somebody else will, because solar has reached grid parity pretty much across the board now. So I did mention this in the previous one. Your existing pool of internet subscribers are a great and very valuable source of leads. And really, your sales pitch should be for economic reasons. Going green is great, but the residential customer today is thinking more along the lines of their investment. And solar, compared to you know, stocks or any other investment that you think of, is a very safe investment, and it's proven in pretty much every U.S. market today. You know, between 4 and you know, 15% return on investment. So this is a proven investment. I just want to make sure that the annualized return on investment. So just make sure that you review over our knowledge-based materials. We've written down for every single market the average cost per kilowatt hour in each state. Some are higher than others, but we've proven that with some flexible and consideration for different financing options, you know, some 5-year loans or 20-year loans, you can pitch sunMAX in pretty much any market. So as you're moving forward with your marketing campaigns, definitely check out the resources that we have available on our website. Right now, help.ubnt.com, we've already posted custom branded advertising materials. So the ad kits that maybe some of you took advantage of for the Ubiquiti world markets, now you can take advantage of those with solar, and they're very professional materials. Pretty soon we'll have those available over on the Ubiquiti World Network page, but definitely check those out. Those are high grade, and you know, you can deploy them today. So I've mentioned cost savings. Cost savings, again, these refer to the economics of the solar system itself. What am I saving by not paying my energy bills? And this really depends on what's called net metering. So you'll learn much more about net metering, feed-in tariffs, all the intricacies of the interconnection agreement between the customer and their utility. But as a grid-connected system, sunMAX really relies on net metering. And I should mention that in, I think, 47 of the United States or more U.S. states and territories, there are state-mandated, that is legally legal precedent for net metering programs. So there's a very, very, very strong chance that these net metering programs exist. And in some of the states, like even Texas, that Texas doesn't have a net metering program, but many of the utilities themselves have taken it upon themselves to enter into net metering just to get ahead of the curve. So definitely check out on our knowledge base. We have a couple of sections that discuss incentives, and this is one that you want to check out as well. So incentives now refer to boosts or immediate savings that the customer can take advantage of, or long-term savings that they can also take advantage of. I mentioned the ITC before. That's a huge one that they should take advantage of today because this will eventually expire. But the other one I was going to mention just kind of came off the top of my head right now, as far as long-term incentives go. There's a huge market for solar renewable energy credits, or SRECs, and this is kind of a cool incentive for renewable customers. So in addition to the savings that you can make with your offset energy bills, in these SREC markets, if you produce a surplus of energy during, say, the month of January through December, depending on the amount of energy that you produce surplus, you can sell back those credits, as they're called, to the utility, because the utility is legally required by maybe the state of New York or the state of Massachusetts to engage and buy back energy. In many cases at like a one-to-one rate, but these can be hundreds and hundreds of dollars additionally per year. So we're talking thousands of dollars over the lifetime. So check out the training course. We talk in much more detail about cost savings and incentives. As far as financing methods, I've mentioned cash purchase is definitely the offers the highest potential for savings. But loan purchase in many regards is going to be the most popular, just because no money down and immediate savings, thousands of dollars down the road. Sure, that's a smart, savvy, safe investment. So once we have the customer proposal tool, you'll be able to put these together yourself. But already today, sunMAX consult at ubnt.com. You can send us over your energy bills. And again, all of the websites and email addresses that I've mentioned are mentioned throughout the documentation on our website. We've already identified a group of loan partners that offer really competitive, flexible loans specifically structured for the solar investment. And when I say specifically structured for the solar investment, it's because they take advantage of the initial ITC credit. So if a customer is saving 30% off of their system the first year, these loans are set up so that the customers has like a year and a half or 2 years to make that credit payment to reduce the cost of their principal and amortized payment. So the best of both worlds here: cash purchase loans. We are already kind of experimenting and looking into possibility of being like a financing partner, but I should mention that Big Solar today, they're coming in and they're selling very successfully to customers at a high cost to them. And in many cases, they're selling things what are called these purchasing power agreements, where they're effectively becoming the second utility to the customer, and they're the ones that are kind of reaping all of the profits. So the customer, your average Joe Schmo, doesn't really know that they could be saving much more if they were taking advantage of these cash purchase and loan purchase options that make them the system owner to take advantage of all these savings programs. And sunMAX is geared that way. We're trying to make this as profitable as possible, not only for the installer, but as high savings. This is a game changer product, and you guys should have tons of success with this to the extent that you get out there and start marketing. So just to wrap up that sales and marketing section, the materials are all spread across the knowledge base and the training course. There is no reason why you guys can't already kind of pitch the sale today to a customer. Start calling up on the phones or sending out flyers, brochures. We have all those ad kits made on our knowledge base, and we'll be posting them also in the Ubiquiti World Network page. But again, you guys can be selling today and already get your sales kind of locked down. And now that product is officially shipped, inventory at ISP Supplies and some of the other distributors, yeah, go for it. Get your feet wet and start installing. So just to take a step back and look at the home grid-tied solar project, this is a little bit different from what like battery systems are, and in many ways, it's a very easy system to install. When I say easy, I really truly mean that. I don't come from a solar background. I'm more from like a networking background, but as I was kind of putting together the training course for all this, I really realized, hey, sunMAX is a pretty straightforward system. And the reason why it's so straightforward, I'll get into some of the specifics later, but in general, it's what's called a grid-tied project, meaning the solar system sits on top of the customer's house and then connects to what's called the main panel. And at the main panel, this is kind of like the load center. There's tons of different names for it, but it's the same way that you would connect, run a circuit to this main panel, like a light or your washing machine. It's the same way that you connect your solar. So you put in these circuit breakers. They're set for 20 amp, rated for 20 amps, up to 16 modules. If you want to put in more than 16 of these panels on top of the roof, maybe you want to do 32. That necessitates an additional end run and additional circuit breakers. So 2 circuit breakers, one for line 1, one for line 2. You have your neutral and your ground that also run back to the end run. And yeah, it's very simple, very straightforward. The intricacies of the project are really behind the scenes. So you as installers are only working with a few pieces. And I'm going to go through the different hardware in the next couple of slides. Yeah, just to show you how simple and straightforward this system really is. So you've probably heard me refer to the module, the panel. Really, a module is referring to the combination of a panel and a microinverter. The modules that we're selling are a 260-watt DC panel with a custom frame on it that will support our mounting system, as well as a microinverter that connects on the AC side and runs back with trunk cabling all the way to the end run assembly, as I showed in the previous slide. And then you have house wiring that goes back to the customer panel. The microinverters themselves allow for monitoring. I'll talk about this with the solar gateway toward the end of this section. And each microinverter is kind of provisioned as you're adding these panels and installing one by one. You're scanning with our Android mobile app to kind of take a quick QR code and upload to the sunMAX cloud. So you can see 2 modules are connected here, forming kind of a branch circuit that would eventually, well, I'll get into those pieces later, but yeah, it's very simple plug-and-play design. The trunk cabling, AC cables, whatever you want to call it, these interconnect the modules themselves, so the microinverters on the AC side. And we have a couple of different pieces, the sunMAX Y cable, as they're called, in the top right and right middle section. And we have 2 different cables for depending on portrait or landscape design. I should mention that under the SunLink geometry site design tool, the bill of materials that we create already recommend for you the number of hardware that you need in each individual piece. So if you have 4 different modules installed in Portrait, you'd see four pieces of sunMAX Y-cable Portrait. The cable clips down there on the bottom, those are just used to kind of secure and fasten the trunk cables and keep them, outside of the sun and away from the harsh elements. And then we have these junction cables in the bottom right-hand corner. Those just interconnect different rows of modules. Now moving on to the next section, roof mounts. The mounts themselves are going to install into the rafters of the customer roof. So when you're going through and beginning to install, you really want to make sure that you know where the rafters are. Usually like a 24-inch spacing or 48-inch spacing, depending on the size of the roof. But yeah, it's a very simple, straightforward design. You mark and measure as you're on the rooftop, and then proceed to install the mounts. And then the next component, well, before I leave this section, there's a composite shingle roof mount, and then there's an additional accessory for tile. So if you're working on a tile roof, we have an additional flashing material that you put underneath the tile roof layer. The trim kits are used to kind of support and enhance the look of the first row of panels. They come also, like the trunk cabling, in portrait and landscape sizes. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner. And again, I'm not trying to go and teach you how to install today, because we have user guides, we have training materials, training videos, in fact, that explain step-by-step each one of these. So you could potentially be on the roof, and if you forget a step or you're a little confused, which you really shouldn't be after you go through these training materials once and do one project, you could just whip up YouTube on your phone and make sure you're not missing any steps. What you're seeing in the bottom left-hand corner, however, that is the mounting assembly that's kind of feeding into the trim kit itself. And I believe on this page, correct, we will look now at the mounting assemblies. On the left, you see the standard mounting assembly. This is really just what bolts into the mounting hardware. So after you've installed your mounts on each rafter, the mounting assembly then kind of locks in, and then you begin to kind of hook in each panel in the groove in between the mounting assembly support itself. There's a panel connector, which is frequently used as well. That's on the far right side. That's used extensively throughout the array to make sure that the panels themselves are supported and bonded electrically. The connector mount in the middle is more infrequently used, I guess, but it's still an option if you have a panel connector and a mounting assembly used in the same section. So instead of if one or the other were to be used in the same area, then you would just replace it with a connector mount, which is really just kind of taking the purpose of the two. Now, I mentioned the solar gateway. This is kind of like in the same way that the microinverters plug in with a plug-and-play design to the trunk cables. The solar gateway also plugs in very easily with the trunk cables, and then just kind of fits on the side of the panels with our frames. So this is what's pictured as the kind of standard solar gateway. We'll have a wireless gateway in the Pico station form factor that you can use later. And this solar gateway is really for monitoring and allows you to provision your devices and make sure that your microinverters are working on a day-to-day basis. Check out the knowledge base and the documentation, like quick start guides that explain step-by-step how to do the provisioning. But you guys are really going to like the apps that we put together. It's very simple, straightforward, and easy to use. So I did mention the apps in the previous slide, but just talking about provisioning. So once you're at the site, it's going to pull data from your Sunlink design that you created earlier. You also have the option to, on the fly, kind of change around your layout. Maybe you get on the roof and you notice, oh, there's something that I didn't notice was here before, and then you need to move around one of the panels. And you can do that on the fly, especially with the hardware, but also with the app. You can provision and adopt your panels using those QR codes we were mentioning. With operations and monitoring, there are opportunities for recurring revenue, whether you're doing kind of an upsell for maintenance or routine cleanings that you're offering. And then once you're inside the sunMAX kind of cloud portal, you're able to monitor all of your different sites from one central location. So yeah, this is a great tool. It's very, and again, like all of our software, it's free. And yeah. The end run connector is the final part of the hardware that's installed at the end of your array. And I mentioned before that you have one end run connector for each array of 16 modules. So if you have 17 modules, for example, that would necessitate 2 end run connectors. What this serves for is the purpose of transitioning to home wiring. So up until now, we've been using the trunk cables to interconnect all of the modules on top of the customer roof. But in order to get back to the customer panel, interconnect with the home and ultimately the grid, you have to transition to that home wiring. So you run, at least in the United States, 4 wires from this end run connector. We have another end run connector for world and EU markets that you'll run 3 cables. And it will transition. So line 1, line 2, your neutral, and your grounded conductors. So let's just take a look at now in the next couple slides, a few installs to date. And each one of these installs focuses on a different rooftop that we have available. So this was in Visalia, California. I think we did this in either December or November. Customer said, I can't say enough about this solution. Design was well thought out and easy to deploy. This was a 16-panel install, so 4x4 landscape and 4.16 kilowatt DC system. Another install, this instead of a tile roof, this was a composite shingle roof. Customer mentioned installed panels in the morning, upgraded the main panel to finish the end run in the same afternoon. So again, most of these projects, after you do it, 1 or 2 times, you can knock this out in a morning or, a couple of hours. And to the extent that you have a kind of a 2-man crew and you have people focused on sales, people focused on install, it's really nothing that's going to take away from your existing internet. In fact, somebody actually recommended to us, hey, what you could do is start upselling, customers that don't have internet. So if you decide to go on the offensive as a solar installer and sell outside of your existing internet group, you could probably, to that extent, bring on internet customers as well. The final case study I want to take a look at, this is actually a customer that was doing something a little interesting. They were working on a metal roof. So our mounting assemblies, they'll work on any given number of rooftops. You'll have to do a little bit of research just to make sure that you're installing correctly. But the metal roof here, you can see this was in rural Indiana. So again, we're kind of disproving the idea that you have to be in certain markets like Southern California or the sunny Florida in order to install and profit from the solar business. With the grid parity that's achieved through the low-cost, disruptive sunMAX system, rural markets are up for grabs now. Customer mentioned install took 4 hours, device adoption was super easy, anxious to expand my array. So another thing you can do, because of the hardware and the frames that we've created, those panel connectors, those mounting assemblies, you can really very quickly expand your array. It's a modular design. So if you want to start with a customer, a small little 1x2 or 1x4 layout, and then next year when for whatever reason they have more money that they want to invest and do a cash purchase, can certainly do that. So to wrap up the install section, we're kind of right where I wanted to be, about 10 minutes of like Q&A that we can do. I just wanted to make sure that everybody here has, whether you go on training.ubnt.com, definitely check out downloads.ubnt.com. This is where our documentation is listed, the data sheets itself, which gives great instructions, kind of short, nitty-gritty, and gives you a very quick understanding of how and where sunMAX can be installed. The user guide goes into much more detail, so that's also highly recommended reading. The documentation team has done a excellent job of putting together these resources, and I would say it's outstanding. You can pick it up today, read it, and you'll. In addition, we have some videos, video tutorials that explain kind of each step, one by one, how to, when you're up on the roof, what's the first step? Do I measure, then I mark, and then I install the mounts, then I install the roof penetration, flashing, etc. So you can check out on our knowledge base. We have a couple of Google Docs up there that contain the entire video library. So I just wanted to kind of wrap up that section by talking about start to finish, what the process is for you as a WISP or an integrator to begin selling and installing solar systems. So the first thing to do, get trained. Check out licensing, may or may not be required in your state. Then number 3, start marketing. Start pushing hard the sales side. There's a lot of financing resources out there. We've identified several of them. Check that out on our knowledge base. Sunlink tool. This is kind of one-stop shop for everything. Whether you're creating the customer, simulating the customer's site at their house, then going through the customer proposal tool, that'll be available in the next couple weeks, and then getting into the permitting. So we have expert teams that are putting together the permit packages if you need to send that to your local authority. So once you've got that permit in hand, you schedule a date with the customer, the contractor, electrician, to install the system, and go ahead and inspect the site after. Make sure that you've signed the interconnection approval so they can actually start getting credit for their system, and collect your immediate profit and long-term savings for the customer, monthly revenue opportunities as well with operations and maintenance. So just wanted to thank everybody for kind of listening through. I talked for quite a bit of time now, and now we're going to open up for Q&A, and I think I'll lend it to Steve to pick everything up.
Awesome. Okay, Jamie, I've been going through the questions as they've appeared on the chat window so far, and there's been 3 or 4 that I could not answer. I'm going to boot to you. So the first question is regarding the marketing tool, and what he's saying is that the state of Nevada is crunching the net metering buy rate to 2.5 cents per kilowatt hour by 2020. He says, I know that the big solar guys are pouting about this and they've left the state, but he would like to know if the tool can be adjusted to reflect the net metering rate as it ratchets down. He assumes that there's still ROI with solar in Nevada, but people that want to pay cash rather than financing can do that, but he wants to understand whether the tool can be adjusted for that particular rate over time.
Yeah, great point. So what we're seeing universally, and just to give a little bit more background to people who are probably listening and unaware of the situation in Nevada, most of the United States is trending in the direction of accelerated adoption and widespread adoption of renewables and these net metering programs where you get credit for any energy that your system produces, so that then when you come home after a long day, your system's been producing, and then you start drawing energy from the grid. Now you've kind of got a bank of energy credits built up with the utility. So in Nevada, there's been some pushback from the utility, and it sounds like the customer, Steve, that reached out to you knows is just one step ahead of me, and I did not know that they got to the point of 2.5 decided on that. So just to answer his question, yeah, I would say today, even without waiting on the customer proposal application, you can already send in your customer energy bills, and we'll take that into consideration and give him in particular a good idea of the viability of sunMAX, because even with 2.5 cents of net metering credit, it's still worth checking out. Like the big solar players are pulling out because it's not necessarily profitable for them. It's not set up for their system, but this is a cost disruptive system. And yeah, so I don't know if you have his contact information, but I'd like to get in touch with him. So let me know. And I'm jamie@ubnt.com, or you can reach out on the forum after the call. So.
Okay, great. Yes, I do have his contact info. Next question is that and I'm quoting now, as I look through the NEC, you must install stickers on the run back to the main panel every 10 feet. Do those stickers come with the system, or are they available?
Yeah, great question. We do. We include those in the permit design package that our expert team creates. Like I said, we have kind of a template, and it's really up to you guys. One of the requirements, so you send us, a couple photos of the site. One of the other requirements is that you send us the solar requirements for your jurisdiction. So if you're in the city of Los Angeles or the city of San Jose, just going on Google and looking up solar requirements and then downloading the PDF, sending that over to us. And to the extent that there's additional requirements, we will be flexible and we'll work with you and include additional things. But yes, stickers and placards are included in the default template.
Okay, we've got a couple more questions. We're getting close on time, so I'm going to kind of jam these out. The next one says, are the Ubiquiti panels standard cable connections like most of the solar panels on the market, and will the Ubiquiti microinverter connect to other brand panels on the market?
Sorry, you cut out a little bit there on the first part of the question, but I can answer the microinverter. Microinverter uses like an MC5 connector. In short, yes. They could be paired with different panels, but based on the DC voltage range of the microinverter, you're really going to get your bang for your buck with our panel. And our panels, I should mention, one of the most cost-effective panels on the market today. What was the first part of the question, Steve? Sorry.
No, you got it all. Yeah,
okay.
You mentioned the cable connector. The next one says, can all the pricing and system tools be customized with our company name and logo?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I actually put up the source files like last week. So if you want to get a head start, I think if you use there's Illustrator, paid software, GIMP, some of the free software. So yeah, you can pick that up today and brand it. We'll include it in our UWN page so that it's built-in editor, but that's maybe a few weeks out. So.
Okay. Next question: is there an installation video for a tile roof installation?
Yeah. If you go to our video section, we have video. We have a specific video that explains the mounts in particular, and that's really where the project differs, I would say, with composite shingle versus tile. There's a few nuances throughout the steps, but that's by and large the big step is the mounting system, and we do have a video especially for tile installs.
Great. All right. The next one says that California is also trying to kill net meter connections. In Southern California, no new net metering connections will be accepted after mid-2016 in some areas. They're also working on new regulations that will require more of, it says that will more or less do away with net metering. Are you aware of anything like that in California, Jamie?
Yeah, there's quite a few states and utilities, but I should say on the state side, they've had this program going on for over a decade in some cases, and so ultimately they're reducing maybe the cost effectiveness, maybe not shutting it down per se in certain areas, but like I said, the trend is toward is positive. In certain places like Southern California, you got to take advantage and get your customers signed up as soon as possible, because to the extent they're announcing, hey, we're going to stop receiving applications in mid-2016, that's ample warning, and just get the get a head start, and sunMAX is shipped. It's in inventory.
Okay. Next one says, what is the efficiency rating of the panel?
Oh, the efficiency rating of the panel, that's off the top of my head, I want to say like 16% or 15.7 or something. The microinverters themselves, somebody asked this in our last webinar, they're 95.5% efficient as far as converting from DC to AC. That's where you really want to focus. Make sure that your microinverter is up to spec, but the panels, they're on par with like above average or above average in the industry, and for their cost, they're insane. Yeah.
Okay. 2 more questions, and then we'll wrap it up here. The first one I can answer. It says, I'd like to watch the presentation again. Will it be available for replay? And the answer is yes, it is being recorded. And we'll send a follow-up email after the webinar today. As soon as we get that out, it'll have a link where you can watch it again. And the last question is for you, Jamie. It says, and I know you're going to love this question because it's been asked many times, but I'm going to let you answer it again. What about an off-grid hardware solution for in the future?
Okay, just wrapping this question up and kind of the webinar. The current markets for residential solar necessitates a grid-tied solution. And with a grid-tied solution, you don't rely on batteries. The cost of batteries in a residential solution, it really reduces your return on investment. It's messy. It makes it a lot more difficult. So the technology is not completely there. You'll see a lot of vendors that are making pushes in this area, but on the DC side, like remote tower sites, WISPs, I would say like it's something we're actively exploring, and I hope that we'll have something out for you guys soon. So.
Okay. All right. I think that's it for the questions. We're going to, I guess, wrap it up now. The last thing I want to do is make everybody aware of how they can find the product on our website. So you should be seeing my screen now at this time. But the easiest way to find sunMAX on the ISP Supplies website is to go up here to the top to manufacturers and then drop down to Ubiquiti Energy. And once you do that, you're going to see all of the sunMAX products that we have. A lot of them are showing not in stock right now. That's simply because of what I showed you earlier, and that is outside in our parking lot is a ton of gear that just rolled in. And so as we begin scanning those items into our inventory control system today, you'll see them begin populating here on our website as being in stock and showing quantities and that kind of thing. So, Jamie, if you don't have anything else, I just want to thank all of our listeners and viewers today. Thanks for being here, and we hope to be able to work with you on the sunMAX products just as soon as possible.
Great. Thanks a lot, Steve. Thank you for everybody participating today.
All right. Good day.